Alright, good morning, Dr. Brogan. This is my video on self-efficacy and self-esteem in sports. This is Kinesiology 720 Psychology of Sport. And here is my first slide. So I'm going to start off by giving the definition of what I feel is a good definition of self-efficacy and self-esteem. So self-efficacy is a strong sense of efficacy enhances human accomplishment and personal well-being in many ways. People with high assurance in their capabilities approach difficult tasks as challenges to be mastered rather than as threats to be avoided. So basically the way I feel about self-efficacy is something that we have built up over time. It is, self-esteem basically is what leads to self-efficacy, but self-efficacy is personal, it's internal, it's something that we feel, and it's something that we know we can accomplish because of past experiences, but it also can be a negative, which we'll cover later. And this quote came from Bandura in 1994. Self-esteem. Self-esteem is how we value ourselves. It is how we perceive our value to the world and how valuable we think we are to others. Self-esteem affects our trust in others, our relationships, and our work. Nearly every part of our lives. Positive self-esteem gives us the strength and the flexibility to take charge of our lives and grow from our mistakes without the fear of rejection. So self-esteem is something that we feel confident in. This came from UC Davis. It's something that every day, I wake up and, this week, this is a prime example. Unfortunately, I got a staph infection on my face. Of course, it looks like this huge pimple. It's massive. And my self-esteem, which I didn't even want to go to work, but I got a Band-Aid, covered it up. You work with high school kids. They ask you a million questions. So I had to answer them and tell them what was wrong, but my self-esteem was really low, and then we had 2 baseball games this week as a coach, and, we lost both games in the 7th inning to a Division II and Division I school, and, we're Division III, so it was a good week in terms that we're playing well, but my self-esteem towards the team was down, but once, it went up once I saw the way we played against a Division I team in Central, and we really outplayed them. So I think my athletes are starting to feel that positive self-esteem too. It's giving them strength and flexibility. They feel confident in themselves. They feel confident in their team. And it's just awesome to see them start to gel. I know the beginning hasn't been what it's supposed to be, but like we talked about with my team, as long as we continue to be confident by the end of the year, as long as we win that last game, that's all that matters. So self-esteem is something we do every day. It's our relationships. One of my coworker, I share an office with him. He might be having a bad day. His self-esteem is off. Everybody's self-esteem is based a day-to-day thing, and it can change daily. So, self-esteem is something that we can work on as coaches and as athletes and as parents, and teachers. We can definitely help self-esteem and try to build and focus positive environments around our athletes to be better. Confidence. So confidence is something that is built from a good self-esteem and a good internal self-efficacy. So putting athletes in uncomfortable situations can lead to failure, but when they are placed into a spot where they know they can succeed, the self-esteem levels grow and they are able to complete any situation they are faced with. So basically, like I tell my baseball players, it does not matter who we play. It doesn't matter what the name is on the jersey. If we can go out and play the game we're capable of playing, there's no reason why we can't play with anybody that we play. So basically, I want them to build a good self-esteem. I want them to be confident in themselves. I want them to go up to the plate or to field the ground ball and know that they are going to make the play. If they don't feel comfortable, if I put an athlete in an awkward position, which I did last game because I was short players, it's early in the year, our basketball team's in the state or the Valley Championship, but they're going to state playoffs. And I put my center fielder at third. He's played there before for me on the JV level, but he hasn't played there in a while. But I had to put him there. And, he made a throwing error, which shouldn't happen. but he was uncomfortable. I put him in an uncomfortable situation, but I had confidence in him, but he didn't have the confidence in himself. So that's where, as a coach, I need to make sure my athlete was prepared. And I feel like in that moment he wasn't, and he was unsure of his abilities, even though he's quite capable of doing what he's supposed to be doing. All right, the positive mindset. According to Bandura in 1997, people with high efficacy beliefs for a task tend to perceive a situation as a realistic challenge, visual success, and exhibit efficient analytic thinking. Conversely, those who doubt their capabilities typically dwell on the risk of failure, display inefficient analytic thinking, and visualize failure. Bender in 1997. This was from Hepler and Phelps in 2012, page 155. This was a great quote to me. I loved this quote. I have felt this. I'm sure we have all felt this. Everybody at some point dwells on the risk of failure. It's my first year as a head coach. And, we're 1-3 right now, and we're 2 runs away from being 3-1. So right now I'm dwelling on the risk of failure, and I really need to just move on. I've been pretty good about it, and I've been good about it with my athletes, and that's what matters. But when I'm at home, I just feel like, it's my first year. People are going to look to me and be like, gosh, he just can't win. He's not making the right decisions. And, it just brings bad thoughts into your mind. So creating that positive environment is key for me. It's key for my athletes. It's key for my family. It's just, I talk to a lot of people, and everybody's, other people aren't concerned, but I'm concerned because it's my job on the line. It's, my reputation as a coach. And I feel like there are a few times where I've made a decision that I maybe could have been different. But like one of my assistant coaches told me, it's easy to second guess decisions we make. We just have to be confident in what we're doing, have a good self-esteem, and know that the decisions we make are the right decisions. So we just have to keep the positive mindset. We lost our last game in the last inning, Central's undefeated, and I could tell my kids were just really upset. We had bases loaded in the bottom of the 7th and 1 out, and, my best hitter up, my 2 best hitters, and they both got out without able to score a run. So I told the kids, and I tried to keep their self-esteem up. I tried to keep their confidence. I said, this is the team we've been waiting to see. The team that can be confident, the team that can go out and play with anybody. It doesn't matter what their name is. It doesn't matter if they play in the track. We can beat whoever it is we can play against. And I want them to believe it. And as long as they continue to believe it and their self-esteem stays high through the losses and the bad times, things are going to turn around. It's just going to take time. The negative mindset. A person with a low self-esteem feels unworthy, incapable, and incompetent. In fact, because the person with low self-esteem feels so poorly about him or herself, these feelings may actually cause the person's continued low self-esteem. UC Davis. So this, to me, is pretty standard. If you know what self-esteem means, you don't feel worthy. You don't feel confident. You feel incapable of what you're doing, and it affects your daily life. I felt really poorly about myself at the beginning of the week, but there's times where you just have to remind yourself, that it could be worse. This morning, I wasn't going to mention it because obviously you can't see my face and can't tell that I've been having a rough morning, but my son and I were going to school and it was raining, and we had a cat, and it ended up getting up underneath my truck, which it's never done that, and it has a friend cat, and it ran off, and so I was driving away, and all of a sudden I felt like I ran something over. And I look back, and my cat's running off, and I know what happened. So I went back. My son's upset, but I felt poorly about myself. And it took me coming home and talking to my son to feel better about things. He's doing fine, but things like this happen. Life is short and precious, and we have to realize that. And the kids, they can't have a negative mindset. You have a negative mindset, bad things happen, and you just put yourself in a bad place. So you just have to find ways to not have that negative mindset. But self-esteem can go that way. And it is important for us as coaches, teachers, athletes, parents to realize these things and to lift these kids up. In this day and age, all this mental illness, and kids being upset about things that have happened at school, and then they go and make a decision and it's a tragedy, and it's sad, but we are the first responders on the line, and we have to realize what's going in our athletes and students' lives and help them. Participation. This was a big thing in the paper. These novel findings suggest that adolescents with higher self-esteem play sports more frequently and enjoy sports more than adolescents with lower self-esteem. This was from Adachi and Willoughby, 2013, page 137. So, adolescents with a higher self-esteem play more sports frequently and enjoy sports with adolescents or other than adolescents with lower self-esteem. And this to me was pretty standard too. If a kid's not confident in one of my PE classes or as an athlete on the baseball field, you could just tell. And they don't want to be there. And so, there are times where we have to handle that on the baseball field. But in class, as a teacher, I see this a lot with the girls. The girls get really low self-esteem, especially when we do the football unit. So I have to find ways to make it fun for them. Find ways that it's not about competition. And it's mostly about having fun. The second quote, in addition, the degree in which adolescents enjoy sports may be more important for increasing self-esteem than the frequency in which adolescents play sports. This is also from Adachi and Willoughby, page 138, 2013. So basically what this means is don't make your kids do something they don't want to do. As a coach, we can't force kids to come out in the off season. It has to be optional. And, we don't want to burn them out. I've seen it with a few of my athletes on this team, and the self-esteem level is really, really high when they're doing well. But man, when they do bad, it just drops so quick because they know at home that parent is going to be on them. My dad was that way with me. And it's partly the reason I am who I am. I'm very keen on small details. I'm glad I am who I am now because of it. But as an athlete, I hated it because I knew my dad was going to be disappointed in me. So then I was disappointed in myself. My self-esteem went down. The internal self-efficacy of my confidence was down. And it took a lot to build it back. You put a lot of pressure on yourself playing sports as a young adolescent growing up, and you really don't know how to already deal with emotions that you already have. And for, family members and people around you, you let them down. So you're already upset, and knowing you're going to get talked to even more, affects the psyche even more, and it's just really hard. Gender participation. This is what I was talking about with the girls. Given the different participation rates for boys and girls, and given the fact that sports is still viewed by many as a masculine domain, the impact of sports participation on general self-esteem may well vary by sex. This was from Bowker, 2006, page 2015. The second quote, for example, research has shown that adolescent females' emotional, social, and cognitive needs are often compromised in PE programs that emphasize competitive sport, skill-based learning, and fitness testing, wherein performance tends to be prominent and salient to others. This was from Lodiwick and Muir, 2017, page 270. So basically what I'm getting this is, my sister-in-law at one point, she played softball, she was good. I was taking her all these camps, these summer games, she loved it. She was a catcher like me. She was taking after me, and then all of a sudden, one of her friends, who ended up being an absolutely terrible person and making my sister-in-law have a low self-esteem, told her that only lesbians play softball. So right then, she made a decision just like that to stop playing softball. So after that, she went and played, she did cheer. She stopped doing it. She did a more girly sport, and it was really sad to see, but it really does affect people, and people make comments. So the emotional and social cognitive needs they can't be compromised. Gender participation continued. Because boys consistently outnumber girls in sports participation, boys may feel more positively about their bodies than girls do, particularly during adolescence. In addition, those girls who do not experience a decline in self-esteem or do not differ from boys with regard to perceived body image and satisfaction may in fact be those who participate in sports. This was from Bowker, Gadbois, and Cornock, 2003, page 48. So basically, it's self-explanatory. Girls who do not experience a decline will continue to play sports. See, my sister-in-law got a decline in self-esteem, so she stopped playing. And it's very frequent in young adolescents. Here are my references. I enjoyed the class, hopefully enjoyed this presentation. And I appreciate you catching up on the grades and everything. I know it was hard, and thank you very much. We'll see you next time.